So I mentioned in the introduction to you about other sorts of figures in the radical new left of the 60s and 70s. And I'm thinking about some folks who talked about, for them at the moment as a young person, the Vietnam War and what was going on in the United States was a situation. I think that Mark Rudd did this in the Weather Underground film, when he's talking about how the death numbers coming back from Vietnam each week. He said it was just driving him crazy. It was making him angry, and he just didn't know how to think about it. He felt powerless in the situation, and that for many of his friends and colleagues who later turned to violent direct action, he said it was the only thing that we thought that we could do in this situation, in this kind of place and way. And so I'm thinking about your journey into this, very similar to his in some sense of how he's embraced nonviolent action in some sense, and a different kind of path politically. But I'm thinking about that sort of situation, of that sort of sense of powerlessness and anger, because if you talk to a lot of young people today, there's not a sense necessarily of anger, but of nihilism of the future.
Yeah, they have a different response to the powerlessness.
Yeah, because there's an existential threat that they see in front of them, that the world is going to end because of climate change, probably in their lifetimes or something. And this is the sort of view that they have. So they feel angry about that, but it turns to a certain kind of nihilism for them.
Yeah, and part of it is the amorphous systematic nature, the institutionalized nature of extraction and dominance. You know, when the US government was running a war in Vietnam, we could focus on a bad actor. And so we had more ways to act, more confidence. And so our rage actually had an outlet. I think we also, a couple of things. War was our model of change. There have been the anti-imperialist and anti-colonial wars. It was certainly the model that our government was imposing on the world. And so that we're wiser. We did not have, Dave Dillinger talks about his failure as a deeply committed nonviolence activist, his failure to make a movement where our willingness to sacrifice and act and take consequences could really be expressed. He just feels like he let us down. He writes that one in his books, which I thought that gave me a lot of insight, because a lot of times when you're looking at what you've done, you don't see every bit of context. You know, what could have been different? Well, we could have had elders. That's why I do this work. I want to be that elder